All right, let's talk finance now, because Deem Finance company based here in the UAE has just raised $400 million in a round of funding led by JP Morgan. The CEO is Chris Taylor. He's in the studio. Morning, Chris.
Hi, morning, Ramadan Kareem.
$400 million. A lot of money, even in this day and age. How did you raise it, and what are you going to do with it?
Sure. Well, look, thanks. We're super.
Chris, I'm going to ask you to move a bit closer to the microphone so we can hear you.
Super proud and super excited, to raise such a large amount and with such a partner as JP Morgan. I think it's a great reflection of the ambition, that the Gargash Group has when they acquired Deem back in 2021. We've been working on this deal for about 9 months, right? It's a lot of work. It's a very complicated deal. We're going to use it, to continue our mission, and our mission is to focus on lending to the underbanked sector in the UAE. That's in particular a consumer, and we target a consumer that's earning around 5,000 to 10,000 dirhams a month, and to the SME sector, both traditionally underbanked in the UAE.
Right, so a bit of a history lesson about what is Deem. Not a household name. Gargash is a household name here in the UAE, but Deem is not. It was Deem Finance back in the day, and I remember that as a non-bank financial. Gargash acquired it, as you said, about 4 or 5 years ago now. It's been rebranded as Deem a few years ago. But this is, when I read this, I thought, okay, this is Deem. This is a big moment for Deem. It's going to make a splash in Dubai. Maybe I'm wrong. I overread things sometimes.
No, this is a very big move for us. You're right. We actually launched in 2008. So, the business has been around a long time, and we've been building our expertise in that underbanked sector, which is traditionally a harder sector to lend into. This deal, I think, is a reflection of 3 things. Firstly, it's the progress that the UAE has made in its laws and regulations that allows big players like JPM to come into the space and get comfortable that they want exposure to the market. Secondly, the growth and the success of the UAE economy and the wider region has really, I think, put us above the parapet in terms of those large players wanting exposure. And third, you've got a lot of new players. And we regard Deem now as a new player. Since the Gargash acquisition, we've invested a lot in digital. We're branchless. We're a full digital player from that perspective. And our ambition is to really utilize this funding to go on a big push into the market.
So you're not a bank. You're a non-bank financial. You can do pretty much everything a bank can do apart from take retail deposits.
Absolutely, yeah. And so traditionally, we've been funded through shareholder funds, corporate deposits, and some local bank borrowings. But this deal is really a step change, because what's so great about this deal, it's effectively an evergreen facility. So we can continue growing and growing and growing. And as long as we're meeting all of the rigid criteria that our partner, ourselves, and the regulator would expect, there's really no cut-off and nothing that stops our ability to grow.
What kind of effective interest rate are you paying for this money?
So look, I'm not going to disclose the exact number, but it's certainly a little bit cheaper than you would expect to be able to get in the market from a local bank, and will certainly allow us to launch some new products out into the market that are really going to benefit our customers.
Okay, well, let's talk about what you're going to do with the money, or are doing with the money, because you're a going concern. Serving the underbanked, that's your mission, which is great. People earning 5,000 to 10,000 dirhams a month, or SMEs. But we know that's a risky market. That's why the mainstream banks tend to shy away from it. And we know that means you've got to charge more in terms of interest rates. I'm looking at your schedule of fees, and they're quite high. Personal loan interest rates from 15.99% to 39.99% per annum. That's quite high, Chris.
Yeah, sure. And look, that's the full range. And I would say that our typical book is probably running in the high teens, right? So that would be our kind of range. Every loan is priced individually. So having been lending into this space for almost 18 years, we have a lot of data around not just your traditional data, so not just your standard credit bureau, which a lot of our customers don't have a fantastic bureau score. We have a lot of other data that allows us to make the right decision for the right customer. We have to focus a lot on making sure our customers, do understand, the costs of the product that they're getting into. And the central bank, again, has done a really good job of ensuring that consumer protection regulations are the same, whether you're a big bank or a smaller player like us. We have to adhere to those exact same set of standards.
And the rates for businesses also quite punchy. I'm looking at merchant loan. It's fine print. I can just about read it. 18% to 24% PA. Again, that's quite a high interest rate for an SME.
Yeah, look, for a business, I think you'd be surprised at how profitable a lot of SME businesses are. And when you look at the kind of margins they're making, what our product does is it allows them to scale. They're not able to tap into sort of normal wholesale borrowing rates. What we often find, and if, I suppose the way I look at our business, if we're really successful, that customer won't necessarily be with us in 4 or 5 years' time, because if they've grown and our funding has allowed them to grow, they will be able to get mainstream banking as perhaps they've become a larger business. An SME business for us is probably the first time they've been able to borrow in the UAE. Yeah, and so actually the kind of rates we're charging for them is very attractive.
What's the typical loan amount for individuals and also for companies?
So look, for a company, we would start at about, 250,000 dirhams, and we would go up. It'd be rare we'd go above 1 million dirhams, particularly for a first-time customer. Because remember, these customers, our turnover is probably 5 to 10 million dirhams a year. For a retail or a consumer customer, our loans are going to be in the range of 20, 30, 40, 50,000 dirhams. What we often find is a customer may have an existing facility and they need perhaps a top up. The bank isn't willing to do that. Or to be honest, they've been borrowing in the grey market and we're the first time that they've interacted, with a regulated entity. So it's really important that we make sure that we help them on their journey to build up their sort of credit profile.
We're getting a lot of messages in, and we did earlier when we mentioned this. People questioning those interest rates. I'm going to paraphrase what the messages are. Some of them are quite choice language, but they're questioning the ethics, shall I say, of charging a personal loan at up to 39.99% per annum.
Look, firstly, the most important thing is that we're fully transparent on what people are paying, right? So there's no pressure. If people need the loan and we believe they can repay, so we follow all of the rules and regulations around something called a debt burden ratio, DBR. We will not go above, including all the other borrowing they have, like every bank, we won't go above 50% of their total income to be repayable. If a customer cannot afford the rate, we will not do the loan for them. We have a high rejection rate. We have a lot of customers who come to us and we're like, you can't afford this loan, right? It's not right for you to take it, and we'll make that decision.
What about people who are self-employed?
That's actually a real target market for us. In fact, I was looking at our numbers recently. In the last 3 months, almost 80% of our personal loan business was focused on self-employed. The reason that is they typically don't meet the criteria of a large bank. They often haven't built up a credit bureau. Their income can be more variable, but because we've been focused on that sector for so long, we're able to pull together the right amount of data to let us make a good lending decision.
Chris, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Chris is the boss of Deem. Chris Taylor, CEO of Deem Finance, just raised $400 million in a facility led by JP Morgan. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Richard.